All right, your United States Environmental Protection Agency Office of Solid Waste Emergency Response 5102G, EPA Doc F01020, December 2001. All right, Environmental Protection Agency Assistance Guide to Activated Carbon Treatment Assistance Guide series. Use many of the methods to clean the pollution, Superfund, and other sites where you live, work, where you go to school, and your Superfunded site. You want to learn more about these methods? Perhaps they're being used or proposed for you use at your site. How do they work? Are they safe? The Assistance Guide is one of the series to help you answer your questions. What is activated carbon treatment? Activated carbon treatment material is used to filter harmful chemicals from polluted air, water, and looks like tiny granules of black sand. As polluted water or air flows through the activated carbon filter, the chemical sorbs or sticks to the surface within the pores of the granules. Most tap water filters, fish tank filters, home contain activated carbon and work on the same way. Activated carbon filters are often used as part of a pump or treatment system to clean up polluted groundwater. How does it work? An activated carbon filter generally consists of one or more containers, columns of granulars. It is designed to absorb specific hazardous chemicals found at the site. Water and air usually pumped through the column from top to bottom, top down from upward flow is also possible. The polluted water air flows through the column and the chemicals absorb the pure porous water surface. So it's polluted water going through the columns, activated carbon granules, and then clean water. Of granules, the water air that exists, the column is the cleaner of the water air entered. Cleaner than water than is the water and air that exists in the column is cleaner than the water and air that entered it. If the water or air isn't clean enough, it's pumped into another column or cleaned using another method. When available, surface of activated carbon fills over the chemical of the carbon is said to be spent. Spent carbon must be replaced and cleaned so the filter can be reused. So if spent carbon is replaced, the carbon and the absorbed chemicals are burned and disposed of in an approved landfill. Cleaning spent carbon involves heating the carbon, pumping the clean air through it. The heat loosens the chemicals from the carbon and the air sweeps them out of the column. Air pollution control equipment that collects the chemical which are disposed of is destroyed. Is activated carbon treatment safe? Activated carbon treatment is quite safe to use. The columns are equipped with detectors that alert column workers. If a leak occurs. Two, when it's time to replace the activated carbon. The columns are cleaned and replaced with the carbon and avoided release and chemicals. Large filters are often preferred because they do not have to replace often as small ones. How long will it take? The time it takes to leak an activated carbon treatment depends on several factors. Amount of polluted water or air, type of the amount of harmful chemicals present, size and number of columns. Depends on site. Cleaning up takes a few days, as long as many years since the activated carbon treatment is often used with cleanup methods. The length of time may depend on how fast the other method works. And then why use activated carbon treatment? Activated carbon treatment can provide good result with a wide range of chemicals like fuels, the PCBs, dioxins, radioactive waste. It can also remove sometimes types of metals if they are present in small amounts. Activated carbon treatment can be cheaper than other cleaning methods. However, activated carbon does not destroy chemicals. The chemicals spent carbon eventually must be disposed of in a landfill, removed the carbon, and destroyed by other methods. The Citizen's Guide to Air Stripping. The Citizen's Guide to Series. EPA, many methods of cleanup and pollution and Superfund's other sites. If you live or work or go to school near a Superfund, you may want to learn about these methods, perhaps being the proposed for your site. How do they work and are they safe? The citizens are in one series to help and answer you questions. What is air stripping? Air stripping is the process of forcing air through a polluted groundwater, surface water to remove harmful chemicals. Air causes the chemicals to change from liquid to gas. The gas is then collected and cleaned, and air stripping is commonly used with treating groundwater as part of the pump and treat remedy. How does it work? Air stripping is equipment that is also called an air stripper. To force through populated water, air stripper usually consists of a large tank filled with a packing material made of plastic, steel, or ceramic. Polluted water is pumped into the tank and sprayed over the packing material. The water trickles down from through the space between the packing material forward to the bottom of the tank. At the same time, the fan at the bottom blows air upward. As the air passes upward through the trickling water, it causes the chemicals to evaporate. It shows polluted water pump, gas, air, clean gas, air, collect, stripper, water spray, packing material, all rises from the packing material, water trickles to the bottom, airflow, and clean water. Carries the evaporated chemical gases to the top of the tank where they are collected and cleaned. By spreading the water over the packaging material, they're rising to reach more of the polluted water, evaporate more harmful chemicals. The water trickles to the bottom of the tank, is collected with the list tested to make sure it is clean as chemical with still present. The water may be passed through the same in another tank to clean using different method. Air strippers vary in size and structure. Some force air across the tank rather than up through it. Others do not use forced air. Instead, they simply rely on the water trickling through the air in the tank evaporate the chemicals. Air strippers are designed especially for the types amount of harmful chemicals in water found at specific sites. Is air stripping safe? Air stripping is safe to use. Air strippers can be brought into the site, and polluted water does not have to be transported or cleaned up to a cleanup facility. Polluted water is contained through a cleanup so that there is no chance for coming in contact with the water. The polluted gases are then produced by the air stripping, cleaning up, and tested EPA. The clean water can be returned to the site. How long will it take? The time it takes to clean up groundwater, surface water using stripping depends on several factors: amount of polluted water, type of amounts of the harmful chemical presence, rate of the water to be pumped, pump number, air strippers used. Depending on the site, it may take many years to complete a cleanup. Why use air stripping? Air stripping because the water containing chemicals that evaporate like fuels and solvents. Air stripping can remove about 99% of the chemicals when it is designed properly. Air stripping cannot remove metals, PCBs, or other chemicals that do not evaporate. Air strippers are simply to construct a site and easy to maintain. They have been used to clean up polluted water at 100 sites. Citizens Guide to Bioremediation. And then same question series. What is bioremediation? Bioremediation, also a natural process to clean up harmful chemicals in the environment. Microscopic bugs or microbes that live in the soil, groundwater, like to eat in certain harmful chemicals such as those found in gasoline and oil spills. Microbes completely digest the chemicals and they change them into water into water harmless gases such as carbon dioxide. Shows your microbe eats oil, microbe digests oil, changes the water harmless gases, and then water harmless gases goes into the soil and groundwater. Alright, how does it work? In order microbes to clean up harmful chemical with the right temperature, neutralization, fertilizer amount of the oxygen present in the soil with the groundwater, the conditions allow the microbes to grow, to multiply, eat more chemicals. When the conditions are not right, microbes go too slow or die. They can create more harmful chemicals if the conditions are not right. At a site, the EPA works to improve them. One way to improve the condition of the pump of the nutrients and other substances such as molasses underground. Sometimes microbes are added to enough to aren't already there. The right conditions of bioremediation can also be achieved underground at some sites. The weather is too cold and soil is too dense. At such sites, EPA might dig up the soil to clean it above ground where heaters and soils mixing help improve the condition. After the soiling is dug up and the proper nutrients are added, oxygen also may be added by stirring the mixture or forcing the air through it. However, some microbes working better without oxygen with the right temperature amount of oxygen nutrients, microbes can do their work, bioremediate the harmful chemicals. Sometimes mixing soil can cause harmful chemicals to evaporate before the microbes can eat them. To prevent the chemicals from polluting the air, the EPA mixes the soil inside a special tank building with the chemicals to evaporate collected and treated. Microbes can help polluted groundwater as well as soil. To do this, EPA drills wells, pumps some of the groundwater into the tanks. Here, water mixed with the nutrients and air before it pumped back into the ground. The added nutrients air helps microbes bioremediate the ground. Groundwater also can be mixed with underwater and pumping nutrients air into the wells. Once harmful chemicals are clean, microbes have eaten their available food, but the microbes die. Is bioremediation safe? Bioremediation is very safe because it relies on microbes that naturally occur on the soil. Though the microbes are helpful, pose no threat to people at the site or in the community. Microbes themselves won't hurt you, but they never touch polluted soil, groundwater, especially before eating. No dangerous chemicals are ever used in bioremediation. Nutrients add microbes to grow, and fertilizer commonly used with lawn gardens. Because bioremediation changes the harmful chemicals into water, harmless gases, harmful chemicals are completely destroyed. To ensure bioremediation was working, EPA test samples soil of the ground. How long will it take to work? The time it takes for the bioremedial depends on several factors: types, amounts of the harmful chemicals present, size and depth of the polluted area, type of the soil, conditions present, whether cleanups occurred above the ground and underground. The factors vary from site to site. It can take a few months to several years for microbes to get enough harmful chemicals to clean up the site. Why use bioremediation? EPA uses bioremediation because it takes advantage of natural processes. Polluted air, soils and groundwater can be cleaned at the site without having more than somewhere else. allowing them to move somewhere else. If the right conditions exist, they can be created underground. Soil, groundwater can be cleaned without having to dig and pump it up at all. This allows clean workers to avoid contact with the polluted soil of the groundwater. It also prevents release of the harmful gases into the air. The microbes change the harmful chemicals into the water. Harmful gases. Few any of the wastes are created. Other bioremediation does not require as much equipment, but labor at the most other methods. Therefore, is usually cheaper. Bioremediation has successfully cleaned up many polluted sites and is being used at 50 Superfunded sites across the country. Or it's a Citizen's Guide to Capping. And the same question as you saw on the other ones. What is capping? Capping involves a place covered in contaminated materials such as waste buried at the landfill. Such covers are caps. Caps do not clean up the contaminated member. They just keep it in place and will not come in contact with people and environment. How does it work? Sometimes digging up the removing the contaminated material can be difficult and expensive. Instead, a cap will be placed over the to keep in place. Cap works in three main ways. It stops rainwater from seeping through the hazardous material, carrying the pollution into the groundwater, lakes, or rivers. It stops the wind from blowing away the hazardous material, and it keeps keeps people and animals from coming in contact with contaminated material, trapping it off the site. And it shows your monitoring well water table, groundwater, polluted soil, gravel, clay, grass, topsoil, geomembrane, ground surface, and well monitoring. Water table. Or constructing a cap that can be simply made placing a single layer of asphalt on the top of the contaminated material. Most often, however, the caps are made of several layers. The top layer of the ground surface is usually soil with grass or other plants. Plants take up rainwater with roots and help prevent it from soaking down the next layer. This also keeps the topsoil from eroding. The second layer drains any water that comes through the first layer, usually constructed with gravel or pipes. Third layer may be added to control the gases that come in from the hazardous material. The bottom layer lies directly on the contaminated material, usually made of clay. Clay is covered by a sheet strong and synthetic material called geomembrane. Together with the clay and geomembrane helps to further flow of water downward. Or is capping safe? The properly built will maintain capping safe method to keep the contaminated material in place. Capping will continue to work safely as long as it is not broken or eroded. Regular inspection are made to make sure that the weather and plant roots and some of the human activity have not damaged the cap. Also, groundwater monitoring wells are placed around the edges of the cap so leaking from the site can be found and fixed. How long will it take? Building a cap can take a few days or several months. The length of time depends on several factors for the various site, the size of the area, thickness for the design of the cap, the available of clean topsoil and clay. Caps can affect with many years as long as they're properly maintained. Why use capping? Caps have been in hundreds of sites because they are an effective method of keeping the waste contained. Caps are usually only with a cleaning up remedy. Often they use their pump and treat systems. Their pumping and treating systems polluted groundwater. This cap prevents contaminated materials from reaching groundwater. Our Citizen's Guide to Chemical Dehalogenation. What is chemical dehalogenation? Chemical dehalogenation removes halogens from harmful chemicals, making them less toxic. Halogens class chemical elements include chlorine, bromine, iodine, fluorine. Many harmful chemicals contain halogens. The presence of halogens could be one of the main reasons for such chemicals are toxic. Chemical dehalogens are most often used to remove the chlorine from PCBs, dioxins contained in polluted soil, oil, or sediment. How does it work? Before using chemical dehalogen, the soil must be dug up. The polluted area is treated. Soil is sifted and crushed to remove large objects. Like rocks and debris, the sifted soil is mixed with the chemicals, heated in a large container called the reactor. During the mixing and heating, the chemical reaction occurs with a change of the harmful chemicals. The reaction involves removing the halogens, replacing them with less toxic chemicals. The chemical dehalogenation can also work by evaporating the harmful chemicals, which change the gases. The gases are then destroyed. There are two common types of chemical dehalogenation: glycosylate dehalogenation and biocatalyzed decomposition. Glycosylate dehalogenation adds a combination of two chemicals, EPAG, to the soil with the reactor. During the mixing and the heating of the one chemical combines the halogens to the non-toxic salt. The other replaces the halogen to form a non-toxic chemical. The heating in the reactor then causes some of the chemicals in the soil to evaporate. These gases are treated with air pollution control equipment at the site. The soil is then placed in a separator and washer. Excess the EPAG removed from the soil. Any remaining EPAG is removing the soil water. EPAG can be reused and clean up the more soil. The wash water is removing the soil and treated. The soil is clean and can be placed back in the site. If the soil contains chemicals in harmful amounts, it's placed back in the reactor to repeat the process. Base catalyzed decomposition add a chemical called sodium bicarbonate to the soil in which the reactor. Sodium bicarbonate allows the harmful chemicals in the soil to evaporate low temperature. Once the chemical evaporate, clean and soil can be returned on the site. The gases produced during evaporation are changed into liquids. Liquids are mixed with other chemicals and sodium hydroxide. Heated and again, chemical reaction occurs to remove the halogen. Some of the chemicals replaced with hydrogen. This produces non-toxic salt and non-toxic chemical. The resulting mixture is treated using other cleanup methods recycled. So you got your glycolate, dehalogen, polluted soil, sifted reactor, air pollution control equipment from the gases, EPA separator and washer to the dewatering system, a wash water treatment plant, clean water, and dewatering system, clean soil returned to the soil. Is chemical dehalogenation safe? Chemical degeneration can be quite safe to use, but there are potential hazards. The chemical reactions can result in flammable, even explosive conditions. In the reactor, proper design operation must be followed to avoid these conditions. Some of the chemicals used are corrosive, which means they can wear away with certain materials, burn the skin. Therefore, workers must wear protective clothing during digging, cleaning up, and air pollution. Equipment that must be used to control dust, collect gases. Chemicals are rarely released from the reactor. The EPA tests the air too to make sure the chemicals are not released in harmful amounts. EPA also tests the soil to make sure that it is clean before it's placed back in the site. How long will it take? The time it takes to clean up the site with a chemical dehalogenation depends on the amount of polluted soil. The condition of the soil, is it wet or dry? Does it contain a lot of debris? Time and amount of the harmful chemicals present. Cleanup taking just a few weeks on the site with a small amount of polluted soil. Alright, pause. Alright, why use chemical dehalogenation? Dehalogenation has been used on several sites to remove halogens of the PCB dioxin, certain pesticides, works best in small amounts polluted soil that has small amounts of harmful chemicals. Chemical dehalogenation can be conducted at the site, which avoids costly transport. Soil cleanup facility also cheaper to operate and maintain compared to other methods to clean up similar harmful chemicals, and cleanup time is relatively short. For instance, got a permeable reactive barrier, so I'm going to cut the tape there.